me 4.5 years ago. What is celiac disease? Let me save you hours and hours of web searches and spiraling down an internet rabbit hole. Whether you think you might have celiac disease, you've just been diagnosed, or you have a friend or family member who has it, this video is for you. In this video, I'm going to cover all the basics: what it is and what it's not, who has it, the symptoms, testing, and treatment. My objective? To make this video fun. Celiac disease is not fun, but this video is. And make sure you watch till the end, because I'm going to share with you the chart that I wish that I saw a decade ago. After you watch this video, if you want more information about celiac disease, be sure to check out the Celiac Disease Foundation at celiac.org. Disclaimer, I'm not a doctor, this is not medical advice. All of the facts in this video are sourced from the Celiac Disease Foundation. Before I deep dive into what celiac disease is, I wanted to know, what do people think it is? I did a little informal poll on my social media asking people what is celiac disease and got over 100 responses. For the people who had celiac disease, most of them got it right, as one would hope. For the people who didn't have celiac, I got a range of answers, but 3/4 of them thought it was either an allergy or an intolerance, meaning you can't process or digest gluten, or you lack the enzyme to break it down. So the great thing is that nearly everyone knew that people with celiac disease can't eat gluten. Yeah! But most of them didn't know why exactly. So what actually is celiac disease? Celiac disease, or celiac disease, if you're British, also known as celiac sprue, non-tropical sprue, and gluten-sensitive enteropathy. Learn something new every day. Celiac disease is a serious autoimmune disease where the ingestion of gluten leads to damage in the small intestine. So, key things to remember: an autoimmune disease and leads to damage. An auto what disease? An autoimmune disease is when your body's defense system can't tell the difference between your own cells and foreign cells, so it starts to attack your own healthy cells. Real helpful, guys. You probably know some of the common autoimmune diseases, like rheumatoid arthritis, type 1 diabetes, MS, and psoriasis. Some autoimmune diseases attack just one part of the body, like diabetes affects the pancreas, and other autoimmune diseases affect many parts or the whole body, like with lupus. With celiac disease, it's the small intestine. When a person with celiac ingests gluten, the body initiates an immune response that attacks the small intestine. This damages the villi, which are responsible for absorbing many of the nutrients from your food, leading to malnutrition and a whole lot of other issues.
Why don't you explain it to me like I'm 5?
Happy villi, gluten. Body, sad villi. Okay, back to those responses. So it's not an allergy? With an allergy, the body does produce an immune response, but the foreign cells get attacked. With celiac, the immune response causes the body to attack itself. Okay, allergy, autoimmune, why does it matter? While some people recognize that allergies can be severe, others may not realize that the celiac immune response can cause lasting damage. It's one of the main reasons people with celiac are so strict about avoiding even the tiniest bit of gluten. Side note, it's not surprising that a lot of people think it's an allergy. A lot of people with celiac explain it in that way, especially in restaurants, so that people take it seriously. And why isn't it an intolerance? People were correct in thinking that an intolerance is when you can't digest or lack the enzyme to process a certain food. Believe it or not, people with celiac don't necessarily have trouble digesting gluten, but can't eat it because it triggers that harmful autoimmune response. Example, I'm also a little bit lactose intolerant, but sometimes I'll have some ice cream and just take a lactase pill or deal with a little upset tummy. But it's no big deal, there's no lasting damage. With celiac, there is, and the reaction is way worse. So now we know what celiac disease is, but who has it? About 1 in 100 people worldwide have celiac disease. In other words, about 1% of the population. Need help picturing 1%? Well, the population of redheads is also about 1 to 2%, so the frequency with which you see a redhead is about the same as the frequency with which you will come across someone who has celiac disease. I'm both. But, are you sitting down? It is estimated that 80% of the celiac disease population remains undiagnosed. 80%! Celiac is hereditary, and if you have an immediate family member who has it, you have a 1 in 10 risk of developing it. If you think you might have celiac disease but no one in your family has it, it could be that they are undiagnosed. So after I got my diagnosis, my whole family got tested, and it turns out that my dad actually had it, but he had silent celiac, which brings me to the symptoms. The most common celiac disease symptoms sound a lot like a Pepto-Bismol commercial. Nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach. Yes, I'm reusing that joke from my celiac disease diagnosis video, which, by the way, if you haven't watched that yet, I'll link it below. But there are over 200 known symptoms. Obviously, I'm not going to read all of those to you right now, but I will link a comprehensive list below. Celiac symptoms generally fall into 3 categories: classical, non-classical, and silent. Classical. Classical symptoms are those typical digestive and malabsorption issues. Things like abdominal pain and bloating, diarrhea, vomiting, as well as anemia, delayed growth, and short stature. These are the symptoms that are most often seen in children. Non-classical. Non-classical includes mild digestive symptoms without any obvious malabsorption issues. But those people tend to have seemingly unrelated symptoms. Things like anemia, bone or joint pain, infertility for women, and or dermatitis herpetiformis, which is an itchy skin rash. Non-classical symptoms are more commonly seen in adults. And then there's silent celiac. This is when someone has celiac disease, but they're asymptomatic. They have no obvious symptoms, but they do get villus atrophy, the flattening of the villi. But these people, after they get a diagnosis, do tend to see an improvement in things like acid reflux or bloating. Okay, but if I could potentially have over 200 symptoms or none at all, how am I supposed to know if I have celiac disease? You need to get tested. First things first, you get a blood test. The blood test results are accurate 98% of the time, so it's the easiest and fastest way to see. For me, my numbers from the blood test were so high that they didn't really have any doubts that I had celiac. Even so, they confirmed it with the second step, an endoscopy. Because the blood test can sometimes result in a false positive or a false negative, the best way to confirm celiac disease is with a biopsy of the small intestine. Nothing makes you feel more like a princess than getting a camera put down your throat. Here's the kicker. You need to be continually eating gluten at the time of your testing. If you've been experimenting with a gluten-free diet, you may not get accurate results. And then your doctor will most likely get you to eat a whole bunch of bread, which, if you are actually celiac, will make you feel really sick. Moral of the story, get tested before going gluten-free. The treatment. So normally everyone's like, the treatment! But with celiac disease, people usually go, the treatment. Right now, the only treatment for celiac disease is a strict, lifelong gluten-free diet. I know. That means avoiding any and all foods containing the gluten protein, such as wheat, rye, barley, non-gluten-free oats, as well as a whole lot of other foods that may contain gluten. Even the tiniest bit of gluten, like a breadcrumb, can set off the autoimmune response, so it's important that people with celiac are very careful about what they eat. Why a diagnosis is so important. Besides your everyday well-being, there's a very good reason why someone should get tested for celiac disease. Untreated celiac can lead to the development of other medical issues and diseases that are often far worse than celiac itself. Now, I don't want to freak anyone out, but this chart shocked me. This chart shows the age of diagnosis and the chance of developing another condition. Even though I was having symptoms as a teen, and maybe even a child, I didn't get diagnosed until I was 24. That means that my chance of developing another condition is 34%. Bottom line, the longer you wait to get tested, the higher chance you'll have of developing another condition. And you don't want that. This includes other autoimmune diseases like type 1 diabetes or multiple sclerosis, MS, as well as other conditions like dermatitis herpetiformis, infertility and miscarriage, osteoporosis, or intestinal cancers. Whew. So yeah, it's important to get tested. Here's my confession. I was definitely in the category of people who knew about celiac disease and had some digestive issues, but didn't want to get tested because I didn't want to stop eating bread or pasta or pizza. But had I known all of this other information, I definitely would have gotten tested. So don't be like me and get tested. Because I feel so strongly about this, the next video in this series is going to be why you should get tested for celiac disease. So be sure to subscribe and stay tuned so you know when that video's up. Once again, if you want more information about celiac disease, be sure to check out the Celiac Disease Foundation at celiac.org. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is why I should never win the sports. I'm like a walrus.
Intestine.
Oh,
Small intestine.
Small intestine, small intestine, small intestine, small intestine, small intestine, small intestine.
Do.
I live with Andy from The Office.
No, you don't.
Where